Hi, it's Erkan Ali here with the Start Your Next Adventure podcast. I've got Gabs DiMaggio and our guest, JM from Webheads.
Hi everyone, how are you doing?
How you doing?
Hi, JM.
Yeah, very good. Thank you for inviting me. I think I'm okay, am I? I don't know. I'm sat between you two. God knows what's going to happen to us.
Yeah. You shouldn't put your guest in the middle.
Why not?
Because it's like they're being surrounded.
That's the plan. We're going to gang up on him.
So this is our podcast number 3. So this is a special, very special podcast because I've been really looking forward to this, James. Because one, I realise I don't know that much about you. There's that, and then the other thing is I know you're about as much a petrol head as I've ever met.
Yeah.
I already know that about you. So tell us, first of all, how did your car? Actually, why have we invited JM on? Because probably people, you're not in the industry, are you? You're not a service provider, but you're a complete piston head, aren't you? So how did that start?
I guess from childhood. My dad ran a car showroom, Suzuki and Jeep back then, and he had the occasional nice car, and I'm sure that's where my love of Porsche came from. He had a couple of lovely Porsches. One was in champagne colour, and there was another blue metallic Carrera. So it's strange I can remember that, but I can't remember something from last week. But yeah, certainly, I've loved cars from the first time I managed to drive and steal my dad's while he was out one day. And
steal your dad's one?
Yeah, the first car I drove was a Cherokee. Should I be saying this? It was a Cherokee Chief, an automatic, and I must have been 15 years old. 15.
Is it over 9 years ago, Jay?
Yeah. Statutory
limitations, so you're right. But the thing is, every guest we've had in so far, out of the 4 podcasts we've done, every one of them just went, my dad. Yeah. Straight off the bat was my dad. My dad used to bring cars home. My dad was a mechanic. My dad was,
I think I'm more a petrol head than my dad ever was. He's never really that concerned with cars or what they did. It was just a means to an end for him. But I certainly had it in my blood, and I'm hugely passionate about cars and the experience of owning an old car, a new car, a sports car. I think it drives. It's something inside you. And we'll talk about cars shortly, but. I recently sold an old Corvette of mine that I've had for 11 years, and it's the longest relationship I've ever had. And I cried when it went.
Was it a functional relationship? Did it work? Was it dysfunctional?
You know what?
Was it a love-hate?
It had its moments, but it was mostly very exciting, and it was pretty reliable, it has to be said. But yeah, I cried a little bit. It's emotional, yeah. And if you love cars, like I do, you form an attachment with them. If I could, I'd probably be like Jay Leno and have 200 cars. Never sell you to. I've got 4 at the moment anyway, so 4's enough. Yeah,
4's enough. And I'm going to get onto your latest acquisitions and cars. But do you remember your early? Go back to your dad, because I think your dad and those early memories are quite interesting. So you remember Porsches in the early days, and what kind of sensations or emotions do you feel about? And you may have never thought about this since then, I don't know, but I find that a lot of people we've spoken to are kind of like have a real, very vivid early memories of cars.
Yeah, I think it's probably all my memories are relating to cars. I remember going to France as a kid in an old Rolls Royce Silver Shadow, and stuff like that. And I also vividly remember my mum having a 2CV and telling her to pick me up from around the corner because it was so embarrassing to be picked up in a 2CV from school. I just think it's a big part of it. And I was reading Clarkson only today saying actually, piston heads, like us, or petrol heads like us are, almost a dying breed. It's a bit like saying you're a Tory. You've got to do it very quietly in dark corners. But I love cars. Yeah,
let's leave Tories out of this for a minute. What about vinyl junkies? Like vinyl, again, it's something that's just it's an end of an era. It won't come back. It will never be.
You're never going to get passionate about an iPad, are you? Or an iPod. They're already gone. No. No one's collecting iPods, are they? So I just think it's we're a long way off petrol cars being banned. So just because I'm really keen we don't keep repeating ourselves on the show, but I do remember one massive car journey as a kid growing up. My dad, we drove to Turkey a number of times by car, but the first time I remember going was in a Renault 12 through Europe to Turkey to Cyprus and back again. He did 7,000 miles with the family in it, and all he did was change 1 water pipe and 2 front tyres.
Did you have the aircon on?
There was no aircon.
Yeah, he had the window. Do you want it colder?
And I just remember.
It's hot or hot.
But I just remember.
So how many were you in the car?
There was
12?
5 of us. Yeah, oh yeah, very good. Yeah, no, that's when we got. That's when we first got here. It was like 12 of us.
How many did you bring back?
But I remember, because obviously you're driving in Europe, you're driving on the opposite side of the road, and this was back in the days where you could drive through Europe and
with no passport, I imagine.
Well,
do you remember the frontier borders?
I remember Yugoslavia and Bulgaria were like Eastern. Not Yugoslavia. I think Bulgaria was Eastern Bloc.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah.
And you had to get in and out within a certain time frame. You weren't allowed to just, meander your way through. You had like 24 hours or whatever it was. It was a certain time scale. I remember you had to get through. And the early memories I remember is like I think it was the E5 took you all the way pretty much from I think Ostend all the way through to Istanbul. And I remember my dad would give me the map. He'd circle all the towns. I'd do all the navigating. And I'd be like,
it's a lost art, isn't it? Map reading.
Yeah.
I mean, driving in Germany last week to Hockenheim. You just plugged it into the sat nav or Waze actually, and off we went.
Forget about it.
Bluetooth, and off we went. And no borders. And every so often you'd pass one of the country borders, and there'd be these big old buildings. And my friend that was with me, well, what are those? Well, that used to be a border. Yeah. Well, what? You used to have to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, you used to have to stop here and queue for like an hour, and some guy used to come out, go Achtung, schnell, and off you went.
I remember going into Bulgaria. They stole our cheese. They stole our cheese. And my dad goes, take it. I don't want no trouble. Take the fucking.
What kind of cheese? What kind of cheese was it?
It was halloumi, man. Where else
would
it have been?
I can imagine. That's squeaky cheese, of course.
Yeah, exactly. But those memories, I think they're very much part of my, early memories. They're part of my early identity, and I think the title of this podcast is "Start Your Next Adventure." It's like what's the next adventure? Whether it's another build, another track day, going off on a driving holiday. So it's like your early memories, going back to more about you rather than me, but your early memories of that actually getting in the car and going.
I can even remember the noise. That kind of white noise of sitting in the back of the car and on the long journeys and going, are we there yet? But camping and going stuff like that and going to France and I think I'm just thinking about it. I suppose it's almost a bit of Americana within us, because America's a big car country. It's such a huge country and driving from coast to coast, and I think maybe some of that passion just comes down from the films, from the 50s films and the Cadillac.
Road trip.
Yeah, and I guess it's just they don't, I suppose we have things like Fast and Furious now, and maybe that's still driving that passion, all the modding and stuff. And there's a lot of modding going on still, isn't there? Which is great, and long may it last.
Yeah, no, great, fantastic. So when do you recall your first venture forays into, say, competitive driving?
Listen, I didn't even go go-karting until I probably my 30s. I started motor racing basically. I used to race husky dogs. Yeah, I know. You don't know that, but I used to.
Hold on, that is cool. Was that around Edmonton somewhere?
I used to race husky dogs. I was a 5-time champion and went to the Worlds and stuff like that. And I know it's very bizarre. After I had won everything in the husky dog world,
so if we did a Google husky world champion,
you'll find me in
with hair
movies. Did I have hair? I guess so. Yeah. Big long hair. Yeah, long hair. I used to be in the music business before that, but anyway.
That's a different. I'm going to make a note of music business.
And Angelina Jolie and all that. I can't talk about that.
Oh, no. We said there are some things that are off limit, which we may venture in, and maybe I'll leave it to a bit later in case you storm off. But how does one start? I mean, I assume you're a North London boy or Hertfordshire?
Yeah, Essex and North London.
Essex and North.
I had one as a pet, and I went skateboarding with it. And it seemed to be a really good idea to get more and go husky racing and go out to Alaska.
Man, that's incredible.
And then that led to me signing up Webheads, actually, because I was in the music business, and I just got a bit bored of going out and hanging out with Guns N' Roses and Metallica, and
they can be a bit lame.
It just got boring after a while, and I decided to not give it quietly all up, but go and race dogs, and did that for many years. And that brought me my company Webheads, because I sat at home and I was like, crikey, what am I going to do? I bought a computer with something called the internet on it, and that was 22 years ago. Wow. And did a little web page for the dogs, had a couple of paw prints over it, and then someone else asked me to do another website, and Webheads was born. So I had a lot to thank him for, and actually that then took me into motor racing a few years later, whilst a client just invited me to a track day at a sprint circuit called Kerbera up in the Midlands.
Right, never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a sprint circuit. It's basically not a complete lap. It's just you go from almost point A to point B.
Well, like a hill climb type.
Without a hill.
But without a hill. It's not like a quarter mile.
Yeah,
either.
no, it's not. It's Kerbera. It's Kerbera. Look it up. They do sprints, and it's been there for many, many years. And they had something called a Formula 600, which is a single-seater bike engine. It was a Honda CBR engine in it,
Right.
and looked like a mini F1 car, if you want to describe it that way. He said, have a go. I was like, this sounds terrific.
And you've never.
And then he said, do you want to do a race? And I went for the whole process of getting your license, which isn't that difficult. Go to msa.org and go how to start racing in the UK. And went off and started doing Formula 600 and up in Knockhill.
Wow.
In the pouring rain, you'd be surprised.
Is Knockhill the one that's near the? No, that's Anglesey, isn't it? The one next to
Knockhill's up in Scotland near Edinburgh.
Okay.
It always rains. Always
so
rains.
if you want to get some wet practice in, Knockhill's the place.
Yeah, monsoon. When actually, I've never really minded racing in the rain after that, but when you watch Formula One, you see all those guys in the rain. And you say, how the hell do you see? And you don't.
No.
You kind of listen a lot. You kind of listen for the noise of the other cars and look out the cockpit that way to try and broaden it. Yeah,
that must be quite scary when you can't. You're kind of just relying on your senses.
It's always a little bit scary. I think you kind of more. The older you get, the more you remember how expensive something is to repair, or how much something hurts when you hit it.
And on that note, just expenses aside, have you ever had any car-related incidents that have caused you injury or
on track or?
Well, because a lot of things that people
just when he's got to pay a bill.
Just
hang on.
But
touch wood and I'm touching the table, not someone's leg. No, I've been lucky. I've had a few.
Near misses or?
I've had a few big accidents, and I've had a friend had a massive accident. At Castle Combe.
Right.
We were racing Caterham cars, which are basically open wheelers. The wheels aren't in the body of the car, and he went over the top of me and over-rotated about 110, 120 miles an hour. And on the video, it's about a bit like that film from Twister, when that kind of tractor just comes down out the sky,
really?
and then bounces and barrel rolled, and that was pretty bad. I kind of stopped and jumped out the car, and the car was leaking fuel, and he wasn't breathing. So I kind of had to release his belts enough so he could get an airway, but not move him till the medics got there. But they were great, and he recovered.
Wow.
Bit of a reality check.
Well, I think the thing
I looked ill apparently. I looked worse than he did.
I bet because you're kind of witnessing it.
I almost killed my mate. So
wow.
I laugh about it, but it ain't funny. And we've had fatalities as well, unfortunately. Motor racing, it says, it is dangerous. But it's safer racing on track.
Yeah.
There's less things to hit. Don't hit trees and don't hit lampposts.
And also there's runoff. There's tie walls. There's marshals to keep you in check if you're getting leery.
That's the important thing. There's someone there to drag you out.
Yeah.
And there isn't on a country road.
No, there isn't. No, and it's quite. Well, the thing what I noticed is when things start to go wrong, when you're going full pelt, it happens very quick, and it's like before you know it, you're in the barrier somewhere, and you're like, wow, it's all over.
I know we're jumping around. I was at Hockenheim, racing at Hockenheim 2 weekends ago in the rain in a 901 Cup car in the German or the Porsche Sports Endurance Cup Deutschland. And the guy who gave me the drive said, just before I got in, I'm selling the car Monday and it's not insured.
No pressure.
That's that moment when you go, crikey. And I remember, I don't know the bends too well. It's the first time I raced at Hockenheim. I've never raced a 991 in the wet either.
So there's a lot to kind of
work out. And you're doing it in their own backyard. It was that was interesting. I remember going through, if you ever guys know Hockenheim, you've got the start straight, you've got kind of a hairpin, and then you've got the long straight down to the far hairpin, and you're doing about 250 kilometres an hour in the wet. And there was a moment where when it's going, this is going to really hurt if I have a big off here. Yeah, and then you get on with it. Yeah. Because if you don't, then you might as well go home.
You get fixated on that.
You can't. There was the first 2 laps there. I was like, not enjoying this.
No, and that's part of it. That's part of it, isn't it?
I'm driving a 200 grand car here. I'm not enjoying it. I can't afford to fix this.
Obviously, if you bend it, you buy it.
Well, we never had that question. We never had that discussion. I didn't really want to have it with you. I mean, normally, if you're invited, you get to
bend it and not buy it.
Yeah, exactly. But I didn't want to ask the question because I was too worried to ask it.
Earlier on, when we was kind of warming up for the show, I was asking you, from your experience of racing and being on track, because I think there's difference between racing and being on track. I've been on track, but I've never raced on track. And what lessons are you gleaning from that experience? Because it is a high performance environment, isn't it, at the level of racing?
I think racing a car, what you learn from it is it takes time. Nobody gets in a car and goes quickly straight away. It's about, I like endurance racing now, so I do 24-hour racing. So it's not necessarily about the ultimate lap time, it's about being consistent and not throwing it off and not having an accident. If you ever drive with me, I'm very calm in the car. Even if, when I'm on the radio talking to the pits and I'm having an argument about pit strategy or anything like that with them, actually, physically, my body is very calm and very relaxed. And that transmits into the car. So my road driving is the same way. I'm actually very relaxed, manipulating how the car's going to move. And driving is just basically physics. It's about trying to keep all four wheels on the floor and keeping them, they're no good if they're up in the air or if you're hard turning. You've got to keep the car flat, and that's a philosophy Rob Wilson, I don't know if you know that name, he was my driving coach, and he does a lot of the Formula 1 guys and things like that, and that's quite an interesting experience to go out with him. But
that metaphor, not metaphor, I don't know if it's a metaphor, but that idea of keeping all four wheels down and going around, kind of allowing all four wheels to do their work.
Yeah, you can't go around a corner if one wheel's up in the air. You need to have as much. It doesn't matter how quick that car is. The only bit that's actually in contact with the road is a little patch of black rubber.
Yeah.
And tyres are the most important thing in motor racing, full stop, all the way from club racing to Formula 1. If you've got a good tyre guy that knows what they're doing, it's worth its weight. I mean, you can.
So would you add to that setup to get the best out of the tyres?
Yeah,
and the tyres allowed to do what they're.
Suspension's only there on a race car to keep the tyres on the tarmac, and to create grip and temperature and things like that. But ultimately, it's about trying to get that chemical reaction between rubber and tarmac to give you grip.
Or given, wet, dry, surface of track, type of track.
Yeah, exactly.
So and again, I was at Alton Park last week with Simon Rudd and Tom Barley in Brit Car Endurance, and someone summed it up. It's basically lots of time just sitting around doing nothing, then like 20 minutes, hour, or whatever of intense activity, because a lot of it is testing, tweaking, feedback to the pit crew. They come back and they readjust things for you. And I imagine there's a big interplay between driver and team.
Yeah, the biggest problem about motor racing is, well, there's several. Money.
That's the biggest problem.
Money is one of the biggest hurdles, because unlike being a footballer, you can't just go and get a football and kick it around your garden or kick the upsies, which doesn't cost anything at all. If you go motor racing at any level, you either have to take yourself there in a trailer and take your vans and maybe someone that can, tighten a few nuts here and there, and then hire the track and spend time on the track and all fuel and then tyres.
Even that go-karting level.
Go-kart. It's an expensive pastime.
Full stop. It's a money sport. There's a lot of sports that are just not really money prohibitive, aren't they?
No. And
does that make it kind of an elitist sport in a way?
Yes.
The reason I say
the long and short of it is,
because I mean, I'll tell you, I was thinking of SYNA, and who was the Irish driver?
SYNA came from an incredibly rich family.
Well, SYNA did, but there was another Irish driver. I forgot his name. Tommy.
Oh,
Byrne.
yes, Tommy Byrne, of course.
Yeah, and that's a real example of someone who's come from a more meagre background, breaking into it, but he had this attitude that people didn't kind of.
Listen, Lewis. We can't not sit here and not mention Lewis and Rye House just up the road. Lewis came from nothing, and good on him for doing it. So you can make your way through and earn money, but I think there's only a couple of hundred professional drivers in the world that make a living from it.
Yeah, everyone else is paying. They've got to pay for their drive, didn't they?
Yeah, and whether you bring your own sponsors to it, or your own money, or someone else's money. That's how motorsport exists. It's and in Formula 1 there are drivers there that bring money to race. They're not actually getting paid by the team. They're bringing their 25, 40 million a year, whatever it is, to actually drive Formula 1. So it is an odd. That's the question everyone goes. So, JM, you won at the weekend. How much did you win in money?
I lost 20 grand. What did the guy who came second?
There is always that bit when you go to the Auto Car show, the motorsport show every year at NEC, and there's a big stand with all these terrific trophies in, and you kind of look at it and go, I could save a lot of money just buying one of these big trophies. And I won!
I remember at school, kid Gary Paffett. You heard of Gary Paffett? He's actually
DTM driver.
DTM driver. He used to sit next to me in class, but every weekend he was there racing. And that was dedication. Yeah. He didn't have a lot of money, but he made it. But it was.
Yeah, I mean, Gary's a pro driver. Yeah. I mean, excellent driver. I mean.
The driver, with the younger drivers, what I've noticed, it's a real family affair. The mums are there, the dads are there, the siblings that turn up because it's a big commitment as a family to have a young driver out there wanting to. I
remember him with either go-kart on the roof racks every weekend while we're all kids.
You can listen. I started late. I was never going to be a pro driver. My hope these days and where I'm at is to get the odd free drive and not pay that much to race and. It's
don't blame you.
That's where I wanted to be, is to get that opportunity.
There's a book in that. Had a driver not pay for it. I mean, I think that would sell a few copies.
I mean, but we're always saying it's elitist, but I was racing at something called the Burkitt Relay on Saturday, and I think it's been going 72 years. Run by a club here called the 750 Motor Club, which is a terrific club. If you want to go racing, check them out.
The series you was racing your Boxster in.
Yeah, exactly. I was doing that and CCSC. BRCC as well here, but 750. They're a very old. I think they're one of the oldest motor car clubs in the world, and there's people still got their Austin 7s. They go hill climbing in and stuff like that. Who probably remember 70 years ago still. But this is called the Burkitt Relay, and it's a real club feel. And a friend asked me, "Do you want to come and race?" And I said, "Yeah." What am I in? And went, "Oh, it's an MR2." I was like, "Oh, crikey." Keys and it was great. It was really good, Patrick. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and it was a lot of fun. It was just there was I think 400 cars nearly, 400 cars, and there's 70 teams, and basically it's like a relay race, and you stay out for as long as you can, and then you come in, you tag the next driver, and he goes out in his car and goes on. And actually Top Gear were there as well with Matt LeBlanc and Chris Harris. Right. So they were competing in I can probably tell you what they were competing. I didn't have to sign anything. So they had a Rolls Royce, an old Rolls Royce, a Bentley Turbo Continental.
No way.
And a Mercedes C600 V12. And their donkey car, in case one broke down, was of course the Dacia. They all broke down. Chris Harris lost it. Well, it was quite fun, but it was really nice. And there was lots of guys there who just turned up with their car they work on their own trailer, and it was a lot of fun. There was no one there spending,
no
20, 30, 40, 100,000 pounds.
No, and that's the thing that I was when I first started going on track, because you can go on track. Someone says, "Oh, how much is it going?" I said, "Well, we're going Brands in a couple." Monday week, aren't we? It's 160 quid.
Yeah.
Plus fuel.
Well, I don't know.
Are you inviting him?
How much?
Is he invited? No, don't tell him to come. He'll turn up in the. We're going to talk about your next car, your next car in a minute. But we're taking the M3. It's just had some new Vanos.
Yeah, it's just had
a new rad, upgraded rad.
Yeah, new rad. Vanos.
He took off all the air
service and stuff. But what we really want to take is JM's.
So go on, tell us. You're dying to tell us. What's your latest ride?
I know something came over me, and I know exactly what came over me about 6 weeks ago, having been very fed up with a certain rebuild on something that we shan't mention. And I basically got to my wit's end. I wanted a new car, and I haven't had a new car for a long time. I've been driving a Corvette C5 Z06 for ages, which I absolutely adore, and it was a lot of fun. I love the agriculture nature of it. I love putting your foot down, go Whoa! And throwing it sideways at
I like that
5 miles an hour. It was still funny. You could just go Whoa! And it was a lot of fun. And what I liked a lot about it was it never drew any bad attention. It was always people smiled at it, and I liked that. And actually, I think going back to childhood, you always look at cars and I've got to word this correctly. When you drive past a bus stop for the school kids and their mouths drop open, and I get that. I remember doing that, and I get a buzz about that. I think it's kind of quite entertaining. So something drew me to a McLaren,
Hold on. Something drew me to a McLaren.
Well, I've been trying to find something.
Actually, I wonder what it might have been that drew you to a McLaren, right?
I had to find something that engaged with me more than the Corvette. I've got an old Porsche which I love and it's terrific, and I've got a VW Scirocco which is great, which you guys chipped. Not the insurance company knows that, and they're really great cars. And everything I drove, next to the Corvette just wasn't as fun. And I couldn't honestly justify spending a huge amount more money to look at something that wasn't really any more fun and any quicker. Driving the new C7 Corvette, in January, I just like, no. I can't justify spending £50,000.
It isn't enough of a leap from what you already had.
But McLaren's always been in the back of my mind, and just for a contest, well, look, come down and drive one. And I drove the whole range from the 12C, which is the first, well, ignoring the F1 McLaren, but it's their first road car, to the 570 and the 540 and 720 for that matter. They didn't let me drive the P1, but I kind of fell in love with it.
Did you really fall in love with it? Because I think of because what we're talking about, a new car, brand new modern car.
I wanted a brand new car that didn't break down. That was really quite a driving factor.
That's worth it, right? But the thing is, like, but if you get in a car and it fulfills you, makes you feel. It's like one of the most wonderful things in life. I mean, I know people are going to be listening to this going, yeah, I feel like that. And then other people are going to be a bunch of saydos. Yes, we're not talking to you guys. But it's like, it does add something to your experience when you get into a car. Do you know when you shut the door and you walk away from it, do you look back and go,
what? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to first of all get over the Goldwyn doors, because you do look a bit of a prat getting out of them at the corner shop. Once you get over that, there aren't any issues with it. And I think it's a beautifully sculptured car. I think it's a piece of art. And driving it, there's nothing else I've ever driven that comes close to the performance or the handling or the position. I kind of compare it, the performance, to a sports blade. Like I used to have a Fireblade, and it feels quicker than that. And it's the same precision. You can maneuver that car as easily and put it exactly where you want it on the road. And it's like a surgical precision tool.
Is this going to go on track? Does it need to go on track? I mean,
no,
why not? Do we save it from the track?
I don't. Well, look, I race cars to go on track, but
I suppose.
I am doing some coaching on Saturday at Bedford Autodrome, and I may take it just to try and find the limits in a safe environment, rather than doing it on the road and smacking it against a curb and doing a whirlwind. So for that benefit, for me, look, I get my thrills and jollies racing cars, and for me, track days are a tad boring, because I'm used to racing the car in front of me, and I really don't like that when you dive up inside someone into paddock. But I may take it out. I mean, I know a lot of the McLaren owners here, they track their cars all the time, and they seem to be able to hammer their cars all day long and drive home without any issues. So they are superbly engineered cars. It's funny, actually, it's ruined me now, because every time I get into anything else, I'm just like, God, the driving position's horrible, and it's like it's like being a surgeon.
Well, because one of the things that we talked about, it's kind of as a theme, is like, you ever meet your heroes, you never get to drive the perfect car. Is it going to? It's been a real letdown. But you have the idea of like what a McLaren might be like, or a 911 turbo, or I don't know, whatever, Ferrari, blah blah blah, right? And you get in it, and then you go, well, is this it? But you're saying that no, you've got. It's hit the spot.
There's nothing else that would have done it. I mean, even the new 720, which is is without doubt probably the quickest car. Period. There's nothing quick. It's quicker than the P1. It means it's quicker than the Ferrari, the 998, because it hasn't got that big battery pack in it. That car doesn't do it for me. At the moment, the 540 is a 540, because sensible money buys a 540, not the 570. But there's a lightweight version coming out of that next year. That might
actually a little twinkle, little twinkle in the eye.
That might entice me into something else. But it's a terrific car, and it's another thing where I wouldn't buy a Ferrari, a Lambo. I think they've got a certain, let's say, character about them.
Go on, I say.
I'm not. I can't swear, can I? Sounds like Anchor.
Matt.
Sounds like Anchor.
So Anchor.
Yeah, well, I'm not an anchor, so I don't want to drive Ferrari and Lambo. Really, sorry, you Ferrari and Lambo guys. I think that in the McLaren, in its way, is subtle, but it's not. I love it. I'm just.
I wouldn't say McLaren's subtle. Though,
yeah, no, it's subtle. Mine's in storm grey. It's got the stealth packing on it. It's the carbon fibre. I love it. It's not even noisy.
Lend it to me for the weekend.
No.
And I'll report back.
No, it's not going to go anywhere. I've not let anyone drive it.
You're not going to let anyone drive it?
No.
Yeah.
I've had it from you. I'll tell you actually a funny story.
I find the keys.
Actually, McLaren don't listen to this either. I picked my car up from Knightsbridge and showroom, so it's spinning round on the. And they do the big unveil with the sheet, and I had a little cry then.
It's a boy.
I got a bit teary about it then as well, being a complete nutter that I am. And they said, we're going to drive it out. And I went, no.
Give me the keys.
Give me the keys. You're not driving it out. And I drove. They said, well, you can't drive it out because the insurance
doesn't cover.
And I went, all right, well, you look away. Give me the keys. And off I drove it out. Then I was apparently the only person that's driven it out the showroom because they've never let anyone else do it. So that was fun. All right, and I'm putting on to, I think it's Birdcage. It's not Birdcage Walk. They're anyway, the Hyde Park thing. And yes, go easy, don't over-rev it, and go.
Sideways.
And there's a big smile on my face.
What colour is it?
Storm grey.
Storm grey.
Yeah.
Colour wheels, black.
Black. Well.
Interior black wheels.
No, actually,
orange?
It's got the orange matching the McLaren, and I like that. I think the McLaren
with the grey and the orange.
Yeah, I love the Bruce McLaren story. Guy, working for me, his workshop, and everything he brought to McLaren. I like the McLaren. I've been a McLaren fan all my life as well. Definitely not a Ferrari fan. So
it's not very nice, is it?
Well, I think it's an Italian thing. I like Italian food, Italian food and Italian women, just not Italian cars.
Italian guys?
Not so much. It's okay to shake their head. Definitely not Italian mechanics. So yeah, I think maybe that was it. I love the history of McLaren. And, so that McLaren orange is on the calipers, and there's the stripe down the seat, and there's little hints in the car. It's just beautifully engineered and beautifully designed.
Yeah.
Have I sold them?
I'm just going to look up the monthly payment.
Yeah, I think they're very
I'll take a 60-year payment plan, please.
They're very reasonable.
I'm just going to look for the keys.
We'll just take. Well, we noticed outside, so after we finished off here, we're going to have a quick look at it. That's fantastic. That brings up to date. In terms of your racing experience, we didn't really go through that. So where did you start?
20 years ago or something like that, almost, maybe 18 years ago. That's right, Knockhill in the Formula 600 and this like pocket rocket thing with a CBR engine revving to 16,000 revs or whatever they do every year. That was fun, and I was crap. I wasn't very good. I came last, but I survived. And then you
finished? You wasn't a DNF then?
No, I finished. I blew an engine up at Snetterton and they put a new one in. That was my second race.
Was that a missed gear or?
No, I think the engine just
Did you have a problem with the Huskies?
No.
Did they ever break down or blow up?
No, well, the good thing about a husky is if they break down, you can eat them. You can survive.
Have you actually eaten one of your dogs?
No.
I've broken down, but
dances with huskies.
Yeah, well, if you run out on skidoo, that's it. You can't eat a skidoo, can you? That's what they would say. And then I started catering racing, catering cars.
We covered that, didn't we? Because you nearly murdered your mate. Killed you.
Yeah. But actually, it's quite a nice time with the dogs. Actually, I was on. Do you remember that show? They Think It's All Over on BBC One.
Yeah.
I was on that with my husky team as a mystery guest once.
By the way, that's making.
Oh, that does, yeah.
Well,
that one.
Yeah.
That's why you need
That's why you need the headphones.
I didn't want to look like.
I'm not going to wear headphones. I don't want to look like an idiot.
I'm a professional.
Well, I could flick the mic worse. But the other guest, mystery guest, because I was the mystery guest. The other mystery guest was Sterling Moss.
No way.
In a Caterham.
Wow.
And actually, 10 years later, I was racing Caterhams, and the guy who ran Caterham turned out to be someone we knew. And it's a nice little time. So Caterham racing is superb. They have the Caterham Academy as well for novice drivers. And that's I didn't start in that. I didn't know about it. That was a big mistake. And then kind of wasted my year, at the back of the grid with dodgy
imagine
team.
If you want to learn racecraft and drivecraft, I mean, the Caterham probably is like a perfect.
Yeah, there's nothing better because you can feel everything. It's like a big go-kart.
Yeah.
And all the cars are the same. and it's only your ability. So I was at the back because my ability was useless.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's great.
I used to drive one. I haven't driven one yet. Have you driven one?
I've
you
never driven
never?
one. No, I don't think I've even been.
Well, I'm in coaching on Saturday because the guy wanted to know what car we
At
should.
Bedford.
Yeah, so Brenner Caterham.
So is that his own car that he's bringing?
No, we've hired one from a team.
From.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So.
Do you remember last time we went Bedford? A friend of mine he hired a Caterham.
Oh yes.
And he was taking his team out.
Yeah.
I think he's coming to.
Let's give that a go one day.
Coming to meet us.
The thing with the Caterham, it's very difficult going back to finding cars that you want to race, because once you've raced a Caterham and certainly a super light, those things around Brands Hatch can do 48 seconds.
Wow.
You're not going to find much that goes quicker. Well, you won't. Your touring cars are struggling to do 48 seconds. So they're great cars to race. And from there, what else I do? I took a few years off to pursue other things.
Is that anything you can tell us about?
No, I can't. And
was Stone Roses involved? Or I don't know. I want to go back to the pop thing, right? I'm going to make a note here, pop. When you said music industry, I'm going to go pop.
We should talk about endurance racing because that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah, go on. So no, but hold on. From Caterham, where?
Caterham.
Break.
Honda? Was he?
No, I took about 8 years off because I went drinking instead. It seemed to be drinking and chasing girls.
Do you know what? You're probably better off on the track than you are drinking.
Pretty much. I just found a better way of spending money. It is an expensive way of spending your time, and I just wasn't enjoying it, so I stopped doing it. It was only when I get back into it about 6 years ago, I got back into it again. Because
I think when I met you, you were back in. Was that when you got back into it with the Boxster? Yeah,
the Boxster. That was a really great series, and racing a great brand, Porsche. It's a lot better than saying, "What are you racing?" I'm racing my Porsche. You don't mention the Boxster bit, but
but it's still a great car, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a really good car, and relatively cheap. The word relatively cheap in motorsport is.
Have you still got that car?
Yeah, we've still got it. Yeah.
We've got a picture of it on the wall, haven't we?
Yes.
What was Perfect Touch's involved? Was we built the engine on it, or
yeah.
Did the engine?
It was just engine work. We didn't.
Yeah.
You had a team, didn't you?
We didn't. We couldn't do much. It was a very restricted series, but you could rebuild the engine and squeeze a little bit more horsepower out of it, or to the maximum it could be, and just make it a little bit more free revving and things like that.
Didn't we go up to
Donington? We had a cracking race. That was the last race of the year.
I think it was Silverstone.
No.
Was it Donington we went up to?
Silverstone and Donington.
We came up once, and I think there was an issue with the guy that was driving it with you went off and did damage to the.
I think that was Silverstone.
Yeah, I think so. I can't remember Silverstone.
Yeah, Nick.
Anchor. Is that right?
He's a very lovely man.
Come and get me. We love you. So and I remember that. I remember coming up and seeing you.
But that led to doing endurance racing, basically, where I was doing 1 hour races, and then someone said, "Look, we're doing the Silverstone 24 hours." I go, "Great! What in a Toyota GT86?" I went, "That sounds fast." It was the slowest car on the track. I had no idea.
Really?
But after 24 hours, we finished 5th in class. And we weren't that far away from the podium. We were just like...
What was you racing against?
That was within basically what they call the TCS, the touring car series. So a touring car is basically anything with 4 seats in it.
Right. Okay. So it's a mixture.
Yeah, a really mixture. A lot of TCR cars, so like the Seats and the Audis, which I'm racing a lot now. So, those cars were doing, 216s around there, and we could barely struggle 236. But it rained a lot of the time.
So that evened the level the playing field.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a lot of fun. Just getting to the end was just like, yes.
But I imagine with a 24-hour endurance, getting to the end is the whole point, isn't it? I mean that's the biggest.
It is until you win one. And then all you want to do is win. And that's the problem now. I went from that and then raced the Seat TCR car, which is terrific, and then raced a 901 at Paul Ricard in France, and we won.
Oh, you get a taste of that.
And then Barcelona, and then where do we go from there? And then Dubai. We're racing Dubai, and when you win, then you win. Then you want to win the next one, and then you start looking at the championships. And this year, I was like, right, I want to win the championship. I want to win the driver championship. And it tends to ruin it a bit, because actually you go there with a different mindset, where instead of just enjoying the racing, you want to score maximum points, and it's about the points.
And that's where it becomes more competitive long term, rather than just going and enjoying your race and coming home.
Yeah. I mean, the 24 hours, it's great. It's great to go away. I race on something called the 24-hour series, and it's great to actually, instead of going to a really cold Silverstone or Snetterton or Orton Park. We jet off to Dubai or Barcelona or Paul Ricard in South of France. It's a much more kind of rewarding experience actually just doing that.
I'm going to hang out with JM.
Yeah, I
don't want to hang out with my mates. I want to hang out with JM. You need some company. I'll hold your helmet. Tell us a bit about your helmet, JM. You brought it.
I brought it along just to
What is it? Is it what make is it? Is it a Bell?
This is Stilo. I used to like Bell actually a lot. I used to wear Bell helmets, but I moved to Stilo just because it's got an integrated radio system, and our good friends Jason Fowler, JLF Designs, does the paintwork for it. But it's if anyone's looking at motorsport and equipment, that remember your head is probably the most important thing on there. So don't ever skimp on a helmet, and if it's got a crack in it or anything like that, don't protect your head, because that's the most important thing on there. So. That's definitely a bit of a tip there. But this is a carbon fibre lid, so it's lighter. And the reason why it's a bit tougher as well. But basically it's lighter, so your head doesn't take
super light.
Doesn't take the forces as you're going around the corners.
And what's that thing on the top? Is that to block sunlight or?
Yeah, it's just a visor, and
because obviously you're wearing it inside. You're not outside.
Yeah. This is a GT helmet, so it hasn't got a full visor.
Right.
Otherwise, full visor, obviously you have to put it all the way down because stones or
I like that. That looks really cool.
It's a nice helmet. But even on that, you're talking a lot of money just to buy the helmet.
How much is the helmet?
That one was 2,000.
Well, it's your head.
But it's your head. How important is your head? Well, not so much you, but
well, you probably got a built-in helmet, haven't you?
I have, yeah.
Imagine that could take a pounding. I feel like sometimes when I'm talking to you, I'm talking I just want to go. Can we go back to the pop and the music industry?
Oh yeah, if you like. Yeah.
So, where did you actually grow up? You said North London. Romford
boy, Essex. And then
this is where we have a fight because you're from Romford.
Moved to Central London for a bit, and then moved out to North London. So
whereabouts North London?
Muswell Hill.
Muswell
Hill.
Okay, all right, Muswell Hill. Do you remember the Golden Egg?
No.
No, you're not from Muswell Hill. You're not from Muswell Hill. I just thought I'd test him there. Yeah, you're lying. So Muswell Hill, great. Okay. So how did you came out of school?
Yeah.
Did you go into further education?
Actually, I went to work at McDonald's.
You started off at McDonald's?
Yeah, £1.50 an hour. Would you like fries with that?
Did you learn anything? Yes, did you learn anything? Yes, please. Would you like?
Did I learn anything there? Yeah, I did watch a guy put his hand in a fat fryer by mistake. Don't do that. That's a really good life lesson.
That's a good lesson.
Yeah,
don't do.
Remember that quite vividly.
So how long were you at McDonald's?
About 6 months.
Really? I've known people come through, work, first experiences or weekend jobs as McDonald's, and I'm like, what did you learn? Never work at McDonald's. That's what I learned.
Never eat McDonald's.
Don't work at
I probably haven't eaten McDonald's.
Don't fix the ketchup machine. It's horrendous.
I like music, so I was really into music, so I wanted to work in the music business and just a few breaks, and when an opportunity comes along, you've got to grab it with both hands. So.
And how did you? When opportunities don't just come along, you must have done something to create them.
I think back then people used to look at the Evening Standard for jobs, didn't they? And I just go and then ring them up and go, flag an interview.
Did you?
Yeah, I think that was
it. To do what though?
PR and basically PR assistant was the first one. So
like a runner, stroke helper out of
just
dog's body.
Printing,
just get in,
copying,
get your foot in.
PR statements and then going to gigs and hanging out, man.
And then how did that progress? How did you go from there?
I was only in it for about 4 years. I can't, to be honest, a long time ago. I can't remember, 4 or 5 years.
I bet you can't remember much.
I bet it's quite hazy.
I'd have liked to have done
Purple Haze.
Purple Hazy.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
What's the most ridiculous thing you saw when you was in the music industry that you can mention on, without getting sued?
Ozzy Osbourne pissing on the concrete over a line of ants and snorting them up. That one. Is that pretty good?
That really happened.
Yeah,
and you saw it.
No, I know. There's some good Motley Crue stories, but yeah.
The innocent must be protected. Changing names.
There are no innocents.
So you come out of that, and then
I went dog racing.
Then was the dog racing a profession?
No, but actually I probably got more sponsorship out of dog racing. I certainly earned more money out of dog racing than I ever did motor racing, that's for certain.
This is the Husky stuff?
Yeah, we had pretty good sponsorship then. And
really?
Yeah, I got paid.
Why have you not mentioned this to me before?
You think you know someone?
I know. I've known you a few years.
Yeah. So it was 20 odd years ago, I think. Didn't you roll my Porsche actually back then? Should we not talk about that?
No.
Well,
No, not at all. Not his one. He didn't own it at that point.
had to bring that one up.
He bought it afterwards and then haunted me with it.
Everything. It is literally his Moby Dick. It's literally.
Honestly, years
it's a
and
great
years later,
white.
So tell us
It's
about
still
this.
causing
I
grief.
hear it. I hear this car pull up, and I'm like, oh my god.
He goes all pale. He starts.
Well, he pulled up in it,
Yeah.
and you went,
Oh my god.
do you buy that?
Gabs, do you want to talk what happened to it recently?
I had a rebuild.
But during the real bid process, do you want to talk about it? No, I won't.
What do you mean?
I know nothing.
The little bit of damage that happened.
That was a long time ago.
Tell us what
Do you want
happened
to talk about it
that?
twice?
And
He's damaged my car twice.
Oh. Yeah, it's just
You don't
a
want to
bloody
talk about
nightmare, that car. Me and that car.
Oh, it's the
don't
car,
get
yeah,
on,
nothing to do with you. So what happened?
It's
Tell us,
definitely the car.
tell us what happened the first time.
Years ago.
Do we have a year?
Oh God. 97,
Could be 98.
97, 98. I misaligned a few panels on the car.
He rolled it.
No, I didn't.
You rolled
I
it?
did not roll the car.
It's a much better story if you say
I
you rolled it.
didn't not roll the car, but I twisted the body.
What did you do? Curb it or something? Hit the
I
curb?
hit the curb really
Boom.
hard as I was going past McDonald's.
Was this a
And I
client's
was waving
car?
to people.
Was this a client's car?
Yes.
We shouldn't talk about this
We
anymore.
shouldn't. No.
This
but
is
it
like he's
happened.
learned his lesson. He's
But-
learned his lesson.
But I put probably about 200 hours back into that car, putting it right.
It's still not bloody straight.
That technically that's not down to me. That's down to the. No, it is straight. Of course, it's straight. It had to go on. It had to go on
We
a
can
jig,
cut all this car.
and
Yeah, we'll just cut.
and it had to be, you know.
Matt,
This was
keep
a
it
previous
rolling,
company.
mate. Keep it rolling, all right? Don't cut. So then you hit this car, twisted it.
Yeah.
You spent 200 hours fixing
Probably,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. And then this is pre-perfect touch era, may I add.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just for and then what? Gave back to the client.
The guy that I was working for at the time
James
actually bought the car off the chap.
Oh.
Because that chap actually had the car sold that afternoon, and I was taking it for his final road test.
So your boss had to buy the car because
he bought the car, yeah.
and then it was fixed, and then it
we
was
fixed
sold.
it, and then it was sold
And
to
what?
JM.
No, JM bought was
The
next person-
unknown.
No, JM didn't buy it straight from there. It went off into the market because JM bought it later.
No, I bought it straight from there.
Oh, right, but this is before you knew
Yes,
JM.
James went, I've got a great car for you. I went, oh, great.
Yeah.
It was good. It was a good car.
It's a beautiful car. It's a 938 turbo. And
Yeah,
it is lovely.
yeah.
I do love it.
So you bought it from there. Is that how you guys met?
Yes.
Yeah.
But only years later did this come out. I didn't know about it.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, dear.
I couldn't say anything, you know.
It does seem to crab a lot going down the road, this car.
No, don't.
I can look out the side window while I'm here.
Yeah,
But it's, oh, God. 'Cause I guess, like everything, cars come with history.
they do.
Do you know that
car
Top
has
Gear
got
where they
some
got
history.
Mr. Love, was it Love, whatever?
Oh, the professor, Lovelace.
Lovejoy or something.
Yeah.
Or whatever his name was. And he'd
Yeah.
go into cars and start doing some kind of like
Yeah.
CIS,
Yeah,
CSI, whatever it is.
bogies.
Yeah, bogies.
That was one of the other night.
Lady, was it Lady Juice? Cocaine and all sorts of things. I mean, what's the most ridiculous thing you've done in a car?
Say.
The most ridiculous.
Maybe it's a
thing.
family show.
I can't do it in the McLaren. There's not enough room. I know that.
Not anymore. In the old days, you'd have been.
You wouldn't give. Yeah, you wouldn't care.
No, you can't. There's not physically enough room to get
There's always
whilst you're driving. It's just there's not enough room.
Yeah.
So go back to the original question.
What are we talking
What's the
about?
most ridiculous thing you've done in a car?
Oh,
Moving,
God.
while it was moving,
While it's moving.
or standing still.
Oh, I can't remember. I can. Quite a few things.
I can't say.
No, you can't really.
Matt,
Yeah,
can
you
you
can't
say?
Monica.
Huh?
Can't think of anything. No, off the top of my head.
Oops. Can't think of anything off the top of your head. Put the camera on you, and then say it to the camera. Go on.
I can't think of anything right now.
You can see how he gets away with so much, can't you? Okay, we believe you, Matt. I don't know what I'd like to share about that question.
I don't want to know.
No, I'm not saying anything about that.
I don't know. I used to travel a lot with my Huskies and my American pickup, a big Chevy pickup. Had a lot of dogs in the back.
I bet that smelled great.
No,
I remember. I'll tell you. When I was at Cadwell Park, I was at R26, and I was with the instructor, and this wasp or bee got in the car, and he goes, "Do you want to stop and get rid of it?" I went, "No, I'm all right," because I'd had that happen to me before, right? And I just looked around, pick up the thing, throw it out the window. Didn't bother me. And I don't know what it was. I'd look down, the tyre near side rear tyre just touched the grass, and then before I knew it, I was in the tyre wall.
Yeah, smacking a car is never that noise of metal
bee.
Or metal, not the bee.
I bounced.
What happened to the bee?
I don't know. I just like
Was the bee okay?
The instructor. All I remember the instructor going, "Why? Why did you do that? You didn't have to do that." I feel I just done. You know, like you just kind of, where did it go? Like I lost
Look
sight.
up and there's a barrier.
And then suddenly, boom. And I slapped it like that. And then boom, like that. And it was like boom.
Things happen very quickly at high speed.
Really quickly. But that's not that naughty. I'm just thinking what the naughty. And I don't mean, just having sex in the car and that kind of stuff. I'm just thinking what else you could have done in a car.
That'd be the most. When they're younger, isn't it?
You should. Where else are you going to have sex when you're that age?
I mean, not with someone else, Gabs, not by yourself. That doesn't count.
Yeah, no, that's not sex. That's anchor. Anchoring.
Honestly, I can't remember.
I feel that we should stop talking about this because otherwise it's going to get dragged down into the gutter here.
Okay, well, it's the first time I've asked this question. I thought we'd get some.
I think we've all held the steering wheel while sitting in the passenger seat. I think we've done that the other day, didn't we?
Oh, you know? No, we didn't do that.
No, we didn't do that.
I wonder what you're going to say. Yeah, I don't want to discuss this
That's Mr. Bean, isn't he?
Shaving.
Well, because Rowan Atkinson's a great petrol rider. He loves his cars.
Yeah, he does.
And he's got the McLaren F1, which he's written off twice.
And he's the Aston.
Yeah, he smacked it at McLaren twice, hasn't he?
Really?
He's priceless. Oh, I've got a terrific story about the McLaren. I'm going to stop doing that tapping.
Yeah, because every time I do it, I'm like...
So, of course, the McLaren F1 was their first road car. And it was born out of apparently they were stuck in Italy coming home from Monza, and it was Ron Dennis, their it's not Saudi, Qatari money, I forget the guy's name, and the designer, which will remind me in a moment because I can't remember the designer. But anyway, they came up with this concept of building this road car, and it was basically understanding, okay, right, we're going to build this car, no expense spared, and they built the F1, which is still regarded as probably I think the fastest naturally aspirated production car ever, isn't it? 235?
I'm not actually sure.
Yeah. But Ron is a notoriously stingy guy. And during this process, please remind me, can you Google it quickly who the designer is?
I'll Google it for you now.
Yeah, we're going to Google it quickly because I'm so ashamed. Sorry, guys. Part of the deal was he was going to get his own F1 car. So they've already built a few, and look, Ron, when am I getting my car? He says, oh yeah, well you can have the mule in the corner. Basically, they did all this development work, and it'd been battered. So all the engineers went, all right, okay, we're going to get Ron in.
Gordon Murray, wasn't it?
Gordon Murray, of course, Gordon Murray. Sorry, Gordon Murray. So they basically went into the parts. And they basically rebuilt this car, and Ron Dennis never knew. Out of all new parts, and they went. So he came. So yeah, Gordon Murray, his F1 is absolutely mint. Yeah. There's one up for auction, isn't there, at the moment for like 38 million with 0 miles on the clock apparently. Delivery miles.
Are you thinking of making an offer on it?
No. Stupid.
Tell me about Webheads, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Because you started building websites just accident. Because I imagine nobody in those days was a web company.
I don't think there was probably no commercial, nothing 22 years ago, there was nothing commercially around. I mean, there was no Microsoft website. I don't think that started till something like 97 or 98.
Yeah,
so I was in 95 and something like that.
So 95 when you started?
95.
Well, you said 22 years, so
is that right?
95 then,
yeah, 95, crikey. Yeah, 95.
What was there? Was like dial-up back then? There was,
it was that noise, that great modem. All that 4.8 modems.
Yeah.
4.8 yeah.
That seems like a life.
It was terrible watching all those videos car videos, of course.
Yeah. That's what got me into it. Those car videos. Because I didn't get it. A friend of mine said, just look at car videos and hi-fi, you'll get it. And I went, now I get it.
Yeah.
Hey, very good.
So I did a website for my dog to bet the Husky Dogs, and then someone else went, could you do a site for me? I went, yeah, okay. And that just led on how much you want to charge for that, and whatever I charged, 500 quid, and
best 500 quid you ever made.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because it was all money in your pocket.
It only took me.
Now you have to make like 10 grand to get 500 quid in your pocket.
So that just led on to another job.
And is that what Webheads does now? Is that web design, web building? We're
a web agency, so we design web solutions for all different types of clients. We do Lewis Hamilton's management site. We do Quace website, Motorsport, Mission Motorsport. We do some things like Planet Hollywood. We also do some very big tourist travel companies like London and New York Pass. And that's kind of where the majority of work is, really high-end e-commerce.
So you're not just building them, you maintain them, and do you do any social media around them, or is it all just...
we do a lot of social media as well.
Okay.
So
and where are you based?
We're based up in North London. We have a central sales office in London, but I try not to go in too much.
And what do you do day to day?
It's a good question. What do I do these days?
Apart from looking at
McLarens. I guess that you get to a certain level. I would say I'm the producer these days.
Producer?
I'm the producer in terminology, which basically means...
I want to be a producer. No? Serious?
Pretty much. So, I just tell people what to do and answer the phone and go out with clients.
I love it. I want JM
and promote Webheads for motor racing, of course.
And hang out at garages.
Cold garages. Do you know how cold it is?
It's not that cold.
No,
my ears are cold.
It is quite cold.
Yeah. Well, you got hair.
Yeah, I've got a lot of hair lately. It's just been growing and growing. Anything else you want to talk about, cars? Anything we left out?
Should we talk about endurance racing? Because that's what I do now, 24 hours.
Tell us about that.
It's what we would talk about briefly with Silverstone and Expect, and just finishing was great. And I just discovered that actually a lot of racing over here is just 20-minute sprint racing. Yeah. 25 minutes maybe you get, and lights go out and it's just mad.
It's just a sprint, isn't it?
And racing for, we do 2-hour stints when we're in the car, and whatever car if that is that Porsche or a Seat, TCR, an Audi, or Toyota GT86. Just going out there for 2 hours, lap after lap, at the same time, not making a mistake, getting out of the car, pretty exhausted. I mean, in Misano this year, I did a 2-hour stint, and...
But 2 hours on a track, it's a long...
It was 2 hours but listen, the temperature outside is 35 degrees. In the car, it's 60 centigrade plus.
Wow.
60 centigrade.
So are you doing much to keep yourself fit?
I run and swim a lot.
Right, so that gives you that stamina.
You try to, but I got out of the car and actually was collapsed because of just the sheer... And actually, I had complete heat stroke from it. I had the shakes and everything. It was, but then you get back in the car, 3 hours later, and you're back in the car. And I love that endurance. I love that kind of the team spirit between, you 3 or 4 drivers, and you're all working together, and the team's working, and doing that for 24 hours, and you're basically awake. You probably get 2 hours sleep in 38 hours.
How many times do you get to do your stints in the car in the 24 hours?
Generally,
every 3 hours.
It depends on how many drivers, but in the series I race, it's a maximum of 2 hours per driver without having 50% break time for safety reasons, which is a pretty good reason.
And which
I would
session
normally
is
race
the hardest? Is it the first one, or is it the...
The start's always tricky because a lot can go on.
What I mean is in terms of fatigue, because it's really weird because we went go-karting. I know it's a little bit different.
No, it's the same.
But it was 3 sessions, 3 15-minute sessions, and the first session killed me. I got off and I thought, I won't be able to do this.
Because that's probably all your adrenaline
pumping. That was it. And then the second session, I thought, well, that wasn't that bad. And then the third session, I was buzzing. I was like, which I couldn't work out what that was all about.
I don't really know. I mean, I really like doing... I mean, I love to start and I love to finish. Those are great. But if I'm not, I really like driving into the night. So the sun coming down, going from light to dark. I love that. Yeah. It's a really terrific time to be on the track. And I love doing dawn as well. Because I love going from night to day. And it's just a real pleasure to drive in those conditions. Certainly the hardest is when it's jet black. And in the rain. Silverstone is really dark, running really dark. And in the rain, you're trying car misting up.
Are your eyes good?
Well, not.
Do you need glasses? Are you wearing
I wear contact lenses.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Because I think imagine it's dark and it's raining. And where did the track?
Well, the hardest part of that, and I remember giving an interview to the guys, the Radio Mon guys there, is you are obviously following other cars, and you've got anywhere between Dubai 100 cars on track.
Wow.
Which is like racing on the N25 in Russia.
Like a convoy.
Yeah.
And you've got things like Lamborghini GT3s going 15 seconds quicker than you, but you've also got things like Renault Clios going 30 seconds slower than you around the track, and you're constantly, that's hard work. But in the night, in the rain or any conditions, you're obviously following different cars. You can see their lights and tail lights on, and if one of them goes off,
you might
follow them.
Really easy to follow them off as well. So you have to have your wits about you all the time, and it's really good fun. And actually reminds me of a great story as well. Do you mind?
No, I don't.
I always race with different teams most of the time. Next year, maybe not. I finally might actually race with one team. We're going to win the championships next year. This is good. But I was racing with a German Porsche team in Barcelona, and it was a night practice. And it was going around, and sometimes the communication's a bit difficult when you're talking to a German engineer or French engineer or Dutch.
Did you speak louder?
Do you hear me? So I was driving around, and there's a big owl swooped down in front of the track. An owl. And I went, that's cool. And I came on the radio, I just seen an owl. And says, okay, box. I say box. And I said, no, it's an owl. It's an owl, like a big bird. What's this? Okay, box, your problem. Okay, box. No, there's no problem. It's like a bird. It's like a twit-twoo.
Twit-twoo.
And he goes, twit-twoo?
Silly English man.
Okay, box. And it was. I just love that story. Where we go. But yeah, Barcelona's a trip. I love that track. Great track.
I bet you do. Well, I think we've kind of nailed it.
I think so. I'm going to come with you.
I've got to tell you, man, it's been absolutely
brilliant.
Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved every minute of it.
It's been good fun.
So we've been here with JM from Webheads and driver extraordinaire, Pistonhead, complete enthusiast. I mean, you've just. I was having a bit of a lonely kind of tough day today, and I feel like I've just had a brilliant day. It's been brilliant.
Can you take your leg off my?
So, any last words for you, Gabriele? And not just say I'm hungry. Come on.
But I am hungry. It's been great having you, mate.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Cheers, mate. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, listen, thank you
Cheers,
very much.
guys.
Anything for you, Jam, before we sign off?
Any
last words?
Checks in the post?
The checks in the post, yeah. Any last words for people who are interested, or they're looking at either going on track or taking on, what would be like your prime little bit of advice for we?
Listen, you can take your own car on track. Be careful, it's your car.
Yeah.
And just take things easy. Go to track day, go to Brands Hatch, go to msa.co.uk, and if you want to go racing, go and get your race license. It's really easy to do. They'll send you a pack, and you can be racing within, next season. You can be racing against me on track somewhere.
So no matter where you are, you can get on track. You can have a go.
And you can go karting. If you want to go marshalling, listen. The guys in orange, we couldn't race without them. And I was telling a friend, we were at Silverstone a few weeks ago for the Ferrari 75th. Whatever it was, taking a McLaren to a Ferrari, very funny. But I was telling my friend that all the guys, all the marshals in orange, who are all around the track, that drag you out the car when it's on fire, they do it for free. They don't get paid. Yeah. They do it because they're more patriots than we are. Yeah. And so you can go and be a marshal. You get your free ticket to go Silverstone F1 and be there right on track and do that as well. So there's loads of things you can do. If you're engineers. Mechanics, you can go and help a team out, whether it's a club and, work your way out. All those guys in Formula One started somewhere.
They all started somewhere.
And there's some, great stories around. So it's
a
lot of fun. Go and do it. Go and do a track day. Go karting. Come and watch me.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, it's been a complete pleasure having you here on the podcast. So I want to thank JM for taking the evening out. Gabs, I don't know, maybe I'll thank you later. So I've been Erkan Ali. This is the Start Your Next Adventure podcast, and I hope you can see, just how much we love what we're doing. And if you've got some stories or you want to participate on the show, get in touch. Or if there's some subject you'd like us to discuss, or interest you've got, we'd be delighted to accommodate.
Rash.
I've got this rash. And on that note, good night.